Hi, welcome to ADHD Friendly. I am Patty. I'm an ADHD coach, and I'm here to help you struggle less and thrive more. If you would like more support, I invite you to check out my membership at ADHD-Friendly.com. At ADHD Friendly, we are the spot that ADDers get more things done. ADDers. This week, I am celebrating a lemon. I know. Just wait, it's exciting. I also have a small yoga. I've got a couple of celebrations I'm going to hit all at once. I'm updating my spending. I'm also going to share an ADHD friendly tip about forest bathing. We've talked about forest bathing before. I'm going to just share an updated tip on that. And then we'll dive into our main topic. Why do I feel so much? So it's about regulating emotions with ADHD. This is so appropriate for this morning. And then, of course, as always, I will highlight my book for the week. It's a good one this week. All right, here is my celebration number one. I grew a mini lemon.
Oh my gosh, there it is.
There it is. So I've had this lemon tree for a little over 2 years now. And last year I grew a tiny little green one. This year it turned tiny little yellow. It's funny. I sent it to my husband when I picked the lemon. He was like, "This is the lemon you sent the picture of? The lemon looked huge." I'm like, "Well, that's because I zoomed in, hon. It was like literally the size of my fingernail, about an inch." And it started like over-ripening. So I picked it and it went bad really quickly. So I don't know. I did buy some lemon citrus fertilizer, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm excited that here in Chicago, I could even grow something that, even if it's a mini lemon, it still grew, which is super exciting. Look how green and lush my leaves are. Like, I'm really excited about that. So I love my lemon tree. It's always been a dream of mine to grow a lemon. I don't know, because I love lemons, but I've been trying it in a couple of houses now. And it'd be funny if I succeeded in Chicago of all places instead of in North Carolina. And I tried to grow one in Texas. It didn't do it. So that's that. As I'm recording this, this comes out in July, but I'm recording it the 2nd of July. So I just finished June and I'm celebrating every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in June. I kept my 20-minute minimum yoga routine in place. This is my calendar. I talked about calendars a couple of episodes ago. This is my desk plotter that I use only to track my yoga habit. And it is very, very sparkly to see all of those 20s on there, even if they're just 20, 21, 22, 20. Check the box.
You did it.
Yep. Check the box and move on. It's not about, sometimes I can get in my head if somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I do an hour of yoga 5 days a week." I'm like, I do like an hour, maybe an hour and a half total in the course of a week, on a good week kind of thing. It's not about that. It's about the consistency. With ADHD, it's always about creating consistency. So I'm creating a consistent routine. I'm not saying I'm going to stick with the 20 minutes every single day. There'll be a day that will get thrown off, but I am feeling much more connected to it again. So that's my added win. Plus, I finished No Spending June.
Woohoo!
I noticed, I'm going to update with my tracker. I did not use the little fill in the jar to show your progress, but I did use the little color tracking stars. I colored in every day of the month that I didn't spend money, and I circled days that I did. There were 2 days that I did spend money. I spent money on the 1st of June, and I spent money on the 18th of June. And ironically, on the last day of June, it was my son's birthday, and we went out and we're walking around the Target Plaza, and we went to Five Below and I spent $5. So technically I'm owning it. I did, but overall, I'm calling this experiment a win. I learned a lot about what worked and didn't work for me. And I'm going to continue tracking and just noticing, where am I kind of impulsive with it? Where am I mindful of it? And try to use cash as much as possible, because that does make me think more. I don't want to part with my cash. It's much more, it has a lot more friction than pulling a card out, pulling out my cash and giving it up. And so I'm going to lean into that more in July. So the only thing I purchased this week was the $5 little book that I got from Five Below. That was it. And I don't have a product of the week because I didn't buy anything to have a product. So I'm going to allow myself to not have a product, because the pressure to have a product every single week creates more urgency to spend money. So I'm going to be okay with not having a product this week. So there, that's why I allowed myself to have a couple of celebrations, because I didn't have as much time to fill without spending a bunch of money and having a product of the week. All right. On to this episode's tip. And we're going to revisit forest bathing. So if you want to hear more of a deep dive into forest bathing, check out episode 103, where I talk about the concept and my experience in trying it out, and even a book on forest bathing I think I shared in that episode. But just as a revisit, to remind you, forest bathing is the practice of immersing yourself in the woods. So in Japan, this is called, I always say this wrong, Shinrin Yoku. And if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. And it's really highlighting, it's not about just kind of like point A to point B, walking through the woods. It's about experiencing the woods. It's about feeling the presence, of being aware of the sounds and the sights and the smells, everything that you're hearing. It's not about checking a box and getting your steps in. So according to Junichi Ada, who leads trips through the forest of, I feel so badly because I'm going to just maul these words. I'm sorry, Junichi, as well, if I said that incorrectly, but she leads trips through the forests of Yakushima in Japan. And she said the purpose is to find mental peace and calm through simply being in nature and engaging the 5 senses.
Ooh.
And so typically this is recommended that you try it for at least 20 minutes to get that immersive experience. An hour is ideal, longer, better. But if you have 20 minutes to devote to it, that will give you a chance to notice what you're going to get from it. So here are some tips if you're interested in trying this out. Turn off your phone. That's the first thing. So we want to not engage with our technology. We want to be really present in the forest.
Stretch.
No distractions. You want to walk in silence or speak, kind of like inside library voice if you're with somebody else, if it's needed. Allow yourself to touch the bark of trees, pick up leaves, acorns. You'll feel the textures in the forest. Notice the smells that you're experiencing. So maybe you'll smell pine or the smell of like damp leaves. So notice the smells. Listen to the different sounds in the forest. I loved when I did this, I could hear the leaves that didn't fall, and I could hear the leaves falling on top of other leaves, and the sound of walking on the leaves, the sounds of the wind blowing through the leaves, or the birds calling to each other. And then even just the variety of colors. Remember, that was the first prompt when I first did forest bathing that the person leading us invited us to do, was just to notice all the different shades of green. It's like you go out in the woods and you think, okay, there's going to be green and brown. And the sky is blue.
Yeah.
No, there's so many shades of it that I just never, it was so interesting how much time I could spend paying attention to how different the greens looked on this tree's leaves, or the moss, or, the fungi on the water, or the toads that were, along the side. All the different greens was really, really cool. So the benefit for this is really that inner peace that it gives us. It's such a grounding experience. And it's one of the best ways to reconnect with nature, which always soothes. It's one of those brain balms, right? So if you give that a try, this is episode 195. Or if you are an experienced forest bather and you have some additional tips to get us into it more easily, give us a shout out. Let us know what worked for you. All right. Now for our main topic, why do I feel so much? So we're going to be talking about regulating emotions with ADHD. And this is one of the most misunderstood and not acknowledged challenges related to ADHD brain wiring. Emotional regulation is an executive function skill. I call it one of the big 3. If your emotional regulation is weak, it's going to impact all of your other executive function skills. So what is emotional regulation? The definition is it's the ability to notice, manage, and respond to emotions in a way that is in line with your values and goals. So this is without over or under reacting. So I'm going to share some examples. Maybe you're able to stay calm in a moment of frustration. So if you're driving and somebody cuts you off and you're just kind of like, wow, okay, I hope everything's okay where you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in a real hurry, instead of kind of like immediately going to complete. Yeah, exactly. Maybe this like, it's like an example, I think, for a lot of families, if like one of your kids spills their milk over the entire table and,
Tears.
yeah. And it's like, or maybe you're as a parent frustrated that you just
Raised
spilled,
voices,
or maybe like they spilled it into their plate and they ruined the food that you made or whatever it is. It's like how you can kind of stay present and calm and mindful and not kind of fly off the handle with, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You just stop playing around, whatever it is. I remember once I was in a restaurant and somebody was, and I actually did this as a server. I've had it done to me and I've done it as a server, carrying a tray of water.
Yeah.
And somebody bumped and the drink spilled on a customer, and I've had them spilled on me too. Did you spill or were you spilled on?
Spilled on a Dr. Pepper.
Oh, worse if it's, oh no, I've only had water. That's
Yeah.
worse because it's all sticky.
Yeah, and I definitely tears because it was like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
did not regulate my emotions very well.
And that might be the thing to notice. There might be times that you are able to do that.
Yeah.
And then paying attention to the patterns of when is that challenging for you? We all have those things that will absolutely, we have just like we go from 0 to completely dysregulated in the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So noticing when that happens for you. Another example where this could happen is shifting from one feeling to another. So I think of this as like reading the room. So maybe you're coming into something and you're super excited and you cannot wait to share this funny story or this thing. And you walk into a room and everybody's really calm.
Yeah.
Or like maybe sad.
Somber.
Or maybe they're like some tension, like they're in a disargument. And you are like so into your story that don't worry, I got you. I'm going to tell you this, instead of kind of recognizing I'm going to have to put that on the back burner and bring it up another time.
Yeah.
That can be really, really hard for us, especially because it feels so important to share it while we're connected to it because we're afraid we'll lose it.
Yeah.
That can get in the way.
Totally.
Another is how to express your emotions in a socially appropriate way or in a socially, like in a safe way. So example of this is that we can feel justified in the moment to say certain things, or we'll wait until we're dysregulated and then feel like, well, now you've done it. I'm now going to tell you everything that has been building to this moment where that person may have had no idea that you've been like kind of escalating over time and you've just lost it. And they're like, what is this about? Like, I literally just took your last piece of gum and you've like literally like lost your mind over like, sorry guy, like I'll get you a new pack of gum. It's not the gum.
It's not about the gum.
Right. It's not really about the gum. And so we might then say something that we'll regret later. So it's that right now it's going to feel so satisfying to me to vent, and I have not vented. So this is the time for me to vent. I deserve this moment. You deserve to hear this, whatever it is, but we're not able to sit. And this is where that connection to your other executive functions come in. We're not able to sit and think, okay, but will my future self make the same choice? Will they come back, like reach back in their mind and think that was the right thing to say at the right time? Good for you. Or are you going to, your future self, wish that you had maybe taken a couple of beats, did some deep breathing, walked away and came back with a clearer mind. And maybe you end up saying similar things, but maybe with a different energy.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's coming across differently because you're able to say it in a way that can be heard. So there's a lot that goes into play when we think about emotional regulation. And like I had hinted a little bit with my funny story and not being able to tell it. We can get dysregulated in good ways where we're kind of like more excited or more ramped up than somebody else. We're kind of like that person maybe like at a stadium and somebody doesn't work. And other people are like, okay, you're really excited about that. And we can also do it in the other way where we'll get much more frustrated or much more dysregulated with negative emotions than somebody else, where they'll be like, it's kind of that road rage where you're like, oh my gosh, guy, I said, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I wasn't doing it to ruin your day. I just didn't notice you there. How ADHD impacts the ability to regulate your emotions. So intensity, we will get flooded really quickly. So I always think of it as going from 0 to 60. Like we'll be completely chilled, and then something can impact us where now we're completely dysregulated, and it happens. It's one of
Instantly.
the biggest challenges because it's part of the work, the inner work we need to do to support ourselves or family members if they're learning about their brains and how to manage their emotions, is noticing those tells, noticing those signs before we become completely dysregulated. So
Yeah.
we have a chance to take a deep breath, practice some mindfulness, step away. The other ways that it impacts are through impulsivity. So we get that intensity, and then we react impulsively before we think. We also are very sensitive to rejection. So we can feel really small criticisms very intensely. And even the perception of a criticism can really, really, really impact us to become emotionally dysregulated. And then, of course, emotional flooding, where we get stuck and overwhelmed, and it happens very, very quickly. So when we are emotionally dysregulated and emotionally flooded, we are not able to access our other executive function skills. So we lose track of our ability to use our metacognition, which is what we know about our own patterns, connecting to our own thinking. We aren't able to use our working memory to really think about, okay, wait, what just happened? And what do I need to do with that information to better support myself? We're not connected to our long-term goals. We're not connected to our ability to be aware of how much time has gone past. All of these things are like shut off from our access. And it's like flying blind and being completely out of touch with time and space. So what is someone with ADHD to do about this? Because the challenge is real, people. Like this is not an easy thing to navigate. So the first is to anticipate those triggers. So recognizing the environments that this is more likely a challenge for you. So it could be if you have a difficult time with transitions, if you know that large crowds are difficult for you to tolerate. So it's already taking a lot of your energy to manage your emotions in this environment. Anything on top of that could create too much for your capacity. Plan for them. So know what your triggering situations are and plan. A lot of times this can come up around family gatherings, around the holidays, around any kind of event. If there's any kind of weight involved, I know like one of my kiddos, even for like happy things, like we planned like this dinner outing or something, and like we get in the car and I could just see them getting all revved up. And it was like, you know what, let's just let you stay home, because I could tell like they were so anxious about not being able to succeed at the kind of social expectations of the dinner that they get so wrapped up in it that it wasn't going to be a good thing to try to force them and just be like, well, you're going to have to figure out how to manage it. It was like, let's let them acknowledge that this is beyond what they're capable of successfully navigating right now. And that's okay. But I'm not going to lie to you, as a parent, this is not an easy thing, because it's like, oh my gosh, like now I've got to explain why my kid's not here, and risk feeling judged by somebody else about why, I can't even parent my kid in a way that they can show up for a dinner and behave appropriately or whatever. And then especially if you have ADHD yourself and you're a parent trying to navigate these things, the layer upon layer, it just makes it really, really challenging. The next is to use something called cold tools. I thought this was interesting. So literally using like an ice cube on your wrists to try to like slow down your pulse, splash cold water on your face, ways to kind of physically reset, kind of like that cold, intense feeling, to give your brain something else to focus on, and almost like a reset, a shift. Another is to build in buffer time. So if somebody asks you something and it's putting you in a position of feeling pressured, saying, you know what, let me get back to you on that. Let me think that over before I commit, and make sure that I have the time and the space to commit to it. If somebody doesn't understand that and do what's right for you, it could be like, Patty, you said to do this, and my boss was like, well, then apparently you're not a good fit for this job. I'm not saying like do this regardless. I'm saying look for the situations where you can practice, where it's easiest to practice, so that you can notice how it supports you. And even like, depending on how they're asking, it could be if somebody texts you, you can say, yeah, let me text you back. And then what do you need to do to remember? Because we'll forget. So it might be making a little reminder, it might be writing it down, it might be saving that text as unread, so it's annoying you. It's like that prompt is still there to go back to it. But build in some buffer time so that you can respond in a way that is more like, especially if you get frustrated reading something or somebody says something, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm going to come back to this. Give me an hour, like whatever feels like would be enough time for you to be able to come back and reset and deal with it in the way that allows you to keep your emotions regulated. And the next is to name it to tame it. So label your feelings. It might be like, I like to call my dysregulation when it's starting to creep in, my gremlin. I'm like, oh, my gremlin's starting to get revved up. My gremlin's running loose. Or my gremlin's in control right now. So this isn't the place. I don't want to be making decisions with my gremlin driving. I want to be the person in charge when I make these decisions. So I like to name it. So find a fun way, not a judgmental way, to kind of distance what's going on so that you can navigate that with more ease. And then the last is to self-soothe. So this could be like the water, the ice cube, different things, but could also be putting on music that helps you to do that, or moving around, meditating, writing it out in a journal, or just creating some type of connection to calm. Maybe forest bathing, maybe getting out in nature a little bit. So I think of these as exit ramps from that high speed highway that we're on. So if we're going from 0 to 60, we're like rev it up in the car. We've got to find ways to get off the super highway and onto a nice, calm country road without any traffic, just nature and just beautiful scenery. And then, of course, document what works for you in your personal owner's manual, your POM, so you can support your future self with more ease. ADHD Friendly has tons of tools to support your emotional regulation, including the on-demand personal owner's manual course that's available in the ADHD Friendly membership. Check it out at ADHDfriendly.com. All right, finally, the book of the week. I told you about this one because it was really good. Not quite dead yet. This comes out on July 22nd, so just about a week. And I don't want to give it away, so I'm going to give you very, very limited information on this. This is by Holly Jackson, by the way. And basically, in 7 days, Jet Mason will be dead. I love it. It starts off with a girl that is attacked. Her name is Jet, and she basically has 7 days to live after the attack, and she decides to spend them hunting and solving who murdered her. And I love it because she talks about, this person murdered me. I need to find that. And it's like, she's not dead yet, but she knows she's going to be dead. So she's not quite dead yet. It's humorous. It has romance in it. It has tons of suspense, tons of thriller component. I loved it. It was a super fast read, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought this was such a great summer quick read. It was not a beach like relaxed read. It definitely kept you coming in, but I just really enjoyed this book. So comes out on Tuesday, not quite dead yet. If that's up your alley, check it out. And now for my quote of the week. This is from the Dalai Lama. Go back to that calm. So he says, happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your actions.
Oh,
I love that. Even when you think about emotional regulation, it's learning where do we keep, or where are we able to keep that equilibrium within ourselves? And for me, that does create happiness because I'm not becoming dysregulated and impulsively committing to something because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I want to do it. Yes. And then I'm like, what was I thinking? Why did I like that? That for me happens more often than getting negatively overwhelmed. I get excitedly overwhelmed. And then I'm like, why did I ask for that? I'm like, I want to do it. Yes. Sign me up. I'll lead it. I will do everything. And then like an hour later, I'm like, why? Why do I always do that to myself? And I have learned over the years, don't do it. Don't do it. I might still volunteer, but I always want to volunteer for less, and then I can step up and do more if I have the capacity.
love that.
But jumping in whole hog is not always the way for me. So that creates a lot more happiness because I'm not spending so much time dealing with the consequences of what I've committed myself to impulsively. Doesn't mean I never do it, but I do it far less than I used to. All right, that is it for this episode 195. Until next time, have an ADHD friendly day so you are struggling less and thriving more. Tally ho.